I've always thought that knowing someone since childhood creates an unbreakable bond, but I never imagined how far it can all go awry. What I'm about to tell you is something I'm still having trouble processing, but I feel I need to get it out of my system. It was a particularly hot summer, the kind where the air feels like a heavy blanket over the city. I was working at a bar in our small town, and it was there that I used to see Marta, my friend, for as long as I can remember. She was always a peculiar girl, but after what happened, the pieces began to fall into place in a way I never wanted to understand. It all started one ordinary day in July. Marta showed up at the bar earlier than usual. She sat at one of the corner tables, the one furthest from the door. She was unusually quiet, and when I asked her if everything was okay, she just nodded her head, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Hours passed and the place began to fill up. Between laughter and the sound of glasses clinking, I almost didn't notice how Marta got up and left the bar. I didn't think much of it until around midnight, one of the regulars came in visibly upset. He said there was something strange going on in the alley behind the bar. At first, I thought to ignore it, thinking it would just be litter strewn about or some animal looking for food. But something in his tone drew me out. What I found chilled my blood. On the floor, illuminated only by the light streaming in from the back door of the bar, lay the body of a young man. I recognized his face immediately. It was Alvaro, a boy who used to spend his afternoons here, talking about soccer and his plans to go to study in the city at the end of the summer. He was motionless, his face contorted in an expression of terror. I called the police immediately. The silence of the night was broken by the sound of sirens and the murmurs of people beginning to crowd around the scene. Officers cordoned off the area and began asking questions. In the confusion, I looked for Marta with my eyes, but she was nowhere to be found. The next few days were a whirlwind. The police discovered that Alvaro had been tortured before he died. I don't want to go into macabre details, but it was something out of a nightmare. Through the investigation, it came to light that Marta had been behind everything. Apparently, she had been obsessed with Alvaro for years, but he had never noticed. Marta disappeared that night, and although the police searched tirelessly for her, they were unable to find her. In her house, they found a diary where she had written down her thoughts and plans. It was disturbing to read how much pain and hatred someone can harbor toward another person, especially someone they were supposed to love. As the months passed, the mystery of what really happened that night only grew. Unanswered questions haunt me, and every time I close my eyes, I see Alvaro's face looking back at me, as if asking for help that never came. I write this here because I need someone else to know the truth, that evil may be much closer than we think, disguised as friendship and years of shared memories. No one in town talks much about what happened. Life has moved on, but the shadow of that night is still present, like a dark mark on the history of our little place. And though I try to move on, know that I can never forget. Translated with dpel.com, free version.